Greetings, I am Lies.
And I am Scandal.
And
let's play a game together. Yes!
Alrighty, so we are back, and Regina has just brought up an impressively sensitive topic that deals with, like, her autonomy, her agency, her comfort in her relationship, her life choices. That is impressive and heavy, and I feel for her.
Yes.
I also, like, definitely feel for the strange narrative of going... It doesn't sound like her husband's going, I want kids, and that's just who I am. It sounds like I want kids, and you have to give them to me.
Which I have heard for some people, and that's intense.
I was gonna say, and that just sounds really, really rough for me.
Ugh.
Like, especially the level of badgering that is required, because Regina has been displayed to be very strong-willed, to get her to... Sure, I'll be pushed into this thing and then going, no, I'm going to try and stand my ground again, but I've also tried to stand my ground so many times and it's failed.
There's also that thing, too, that I think is really interesting, is that it illustrates to me, and this isn't necessarily always true, but I have noticed that it really is very much up to where you are in your life, and also who you're with. Like, you can easily be talked into something by someone else that you couldn't be by another person or another scenario.
Or at another time of your life.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things, so I always just be like, guys, don't be so hard on yourself. Yes, because sometimes it's like, some people know how to hit you in your vulnerable spots.
For sure. And again, if she loves him, that can be one of those things of going, I want him to be happy, I just don't want this, you know?
Right?
All right, we're going to choose a centerpiece.
Let's do
this.
We'll move.
All right, wherever that goes.
Aye.
Centerpiece for what? So, what happened? Did you and your husband have a fight?
We're past fights at this point, I think.
Oh, are we moving to divorce as well?
I guess, growing up, I just never realized that it was a thing, you know? That it was okay to not want kids. Oh. Wait.
So maybe at the beginning of the relationship, she was like, yeah, this is fine, whatever you're going to do, all of the standard things. And then she realized it as it went on?
I was about to say, yeah, because that makes it sound like basically what happened is they got together. And as far as I understand, like, for a lot of basically assumed, and I'm going to use assumed straight couples basically in this case. So cis women and cis men. There is an experience of going that as far as I understand, for healthy boundaries, people usually end up discussing, hey, what do you want to do of you? Do you consider family or having kids, or what is that going to look like? Like, that is considered to be a normal part of conversation in circles that I have heard where that is considered to be healthy conversation, right? You don't want to jump things on people or spring things on people because you really have to basically meter your expectation, and it's a good way to understand, hey, where are our values? Where do we align? Where do we not, line up, right?
Right. And then it could be one of those things where she never validated her desire to not have kids.
Or basically
she was younger.
Right. Or just going like, she didn't really think about it. It was kind of a thing. Like, sometimes I've heard people going, I realized as I got older, I never wanted kids. Me younger, yeah, sure, fine. And then I got older and I really started actually thinking about the repercussions, what that looks like, the cost, the requirements, the job, of having children, what that looks like. And then they went,
like
I know.
Me sort of, even if it's not even that, it's like, sometimes you just don't want to. There can be situations of, and I'm not going to relate it to kids right now because kids is a bigger subject, but more like getting a puppy. Some people can just be like, I don't want a puppy. And you can be like, well, why? Because I don't want a puppy. And you're like, well, is it the cost? No. Is it the time? No. What is it? Well, is it the hair? Is it the mess? I just don't want a puppy. And that can be in the same way like, I don't want spaghetti. Like, people don't usually ask you why you don't want to eat spaghetti. And they go, oh, well, is it the sauce? Well, is it the spice? Well, is it the type of noodles? They usually just go, oh, you don't want spaghetti.
It's interesting, though, because I find that even when people don't usually ask, there's a soft expectation that you're going to tell. Because that's weird. Because, and I mean that in the sense of, like, how the story usually goes. Not necessarily saying to me that it's weird, because sometimes you really do just run into people and they go, oh, you don't want it. Okay, cool. But I'm also, it's the same thing, for example, of like, we're all going to go out to a bar and you wanted to hang out with us, but you don't want to drink? Why is that?
There's an assumption that if you've gotten here, you're going to want to drink.
Well, you knew that we were going to go to the Cheesecake Factory. Why don't you want cheesecake? Or something like that,
That's what people do here. There's been a number of times where I've been in situations where people have been like, but that's what people do at this venue. I'm like, but there's 9 other things to do at this venue. Yeah, but this one's what
the thing.
Yeah, the thing. And I'm like, so I don't care about the thing. And then I'm offensive.
Anyway, it was okay to not want kids.
I
was taught I was supposed to want it, and I spent a long time convincing myself that I did.
I like you better and better all the time, but I'm sorry for your struggle.
God damn, dude. Like, talking so much. Sorry.
It's okay. I think we're friends by now. No way. No need to apologize. I'm your friend. I'm here for you. I've got this piece. Like, I'm not always interested in other people's lives unless there's drama involved or just who they are as a person when things are chill, because I'm not very good at balance. But like when you're hurting, I'm here for you, okay?
Yeah, that is actually one thing that I have to say about Lily's garden that has been kind of frustrating. Like, I get that she's got work that she's doing, but it makes it difficult for me because I also want to see what they're like as just friends or developing relationships in relation to what they like to do.
Right.
Like, where do they share hobbies? Do they talk about Star Trek? Like, they did try to do some of that, particularly with Lily and Regina. But not necessarily in a way, like, it's much better, I think, between them than it is, like, with Luke.
So
which is so weird.
I want to get into it again, though, of going, Lily doesn't seem to be interested in her friend's interests. Even when Regina was like, all of my celebrity crushes, guys and gals, right?
Right.
Lily didn't go, oh, what shows do you watch? Oh, what crushes? Oh, whatever.
Right.
Even when it was about reading the Nightingale books, it was, oh, what should I know about them? Not what do you like about them?
Right.
That kind of thing. And so and then, oh, do you like other books? Like she never leads into asking more about anyone else, or again, when they share their various interests. Like, her having a DNA testing kit in her car.
Yeah.
And going, is like forensics your hobby or something?
Right?
You know, like that'd been a great time to ask and learn more about Regina. And why do you have this thing? Like, sure, plot device, whatever, but also character development. Lean in.
Oh, yeah, you could totally do something.
But it does
like that.
seem like, well, Lily does seem very compassionate. She's very interested in helping, like in supporting other people when they're in pain. And she's almost like compelled to do it in the case of like Blaine and stuff like that.
I'm wondering, so there's something where sometimes people talk about where there are some people, like there's a particular almost like way that some people have described some individuals really that I've seen where they go, you're super high on basically like being compassionate, but you're not very deep.
Okay.
Kind of thing. Like I've seen some people talk about it. I can't remember where it's from. You're gonna forgive me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My friend looked at my face and I'm going, I'm just trying to remember because I remember somebody
this
actually
from?
discussing sort of like, you know, even they were trying to do it in the way I think of like with D&D, where they're talking about, you know, this is what it means to have high intelligence but low wisdom, or high wisdom, low intelligence. Like and trying to basically talk about sort of like character development, but then also going into personality.
And basically, Lily seems to have very high like empathy and sympathy,
right?
But very low interest in these people,
right?
Like really, it's that's what I'm getting from her, which is unusual,
right?
If she wants them to be her friends.
Especially
now, I've displayed those characteristics when I'm not interested in friendship, whether they're a coworker or an acquaintance, or you see them at school or whatever, or even just a situation where you know they're a total stranger. You can be compassionate and empathetic and help out, but it doesn't mean you're interested in being friends,
right?
Or building any more relationship. But she seems to be distinctively interested in having these people as her friends, and yet she's not behaving in a way as though she's interested in them as people.
Right.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, babe. Can we plant something?
Actually, we need to build something, so the centerpiece here needs replacing. What centerpiece?
What
you mean
centerpiece?
The giant rocks you took out of there?
Please put me to work.
Well, those huge-ass boulders we just moved, we're going to put something else instead. Here, I'll let you pick the design.
Oh.
Oh, that would be we're not. I thought it would be great if it just popped in because Regina chose it.
I know.
That would be amazing. Yeah, we took out the giant-ass boulders to put in this.
I want the boulders.
I do too. Okay, the fairy, if it's supposed to be his fairy garden, is what I would like to go with.
Yeah, I think that's kind of
like,
cute.
Even if the color doesn't match completely, that is something like Uncle Arthur could sculpt.
Right.
Because he did work in marble, and it's also the theme of the fairy garden. And like, this is very Lily, and I appreciate that this is meant to be her garden, but I think also she likes the idea of honoring her great uncle.
Yes.
So, and it's not cute.
Right.
Plus, she also just told Regina she could choose.
Hey, how's this?
It's great. Where the hell did you get that? I mean, thanks, Regina.
I pulled it out of my truck. Thank you. I needed to get all that out.
You would have that in your truck, wouldn't you?
I'm also like, God, I can't imagine basically, like, I imagine they're in therapy or something like that. At least I hope they are.
I know. Hope
so.
Sometimes people are dealing with very big problems in their relationship and they don't have outside support. And because they don't conceive of it, it's not their culture, they just, whatever reasons, you talk yourself out of it.
I cannot tell you, though, also times where I've heard people go, I would like to get therapy. I cannot get therapy because my partner doesn't want to get involved in therapy and that this is not okay to get involved in therapy.
Or I can't get therapy because my partner or myself say it's too expensive. Yeah. Because we're above the poverty line, so we can't get it for free, and that means it's way out of our budget because we're also below the normal income line.
God.
You know, the stability line.
I hate shit like that in the United States sometimes.
Alrighty.
All right, let's get these walls patched up. Lils,
Do they have like a lot of holes in them? Yes, ma'am. So are you just going to replace all the wood of the entire thing, or are we going to do a lot of sanding?
That'll be awesome.
Huge amounts of sanding. You're just going to drill into the ground.
So, how are things with you and your dude?
I have a dude?
Yes.
He's not my dude.
Hey, dude.
Self-aware for 2 seconds going, we actually haven't talked about this. We're not involved in any way. I keep trying to do roundabout, plausible, deniability hints about it, but not being direct at all, because I want him to take all the initiative and it to just happen instead of anybody asking or speaking about it, you know?
Right.
You can't just talk about these things. It's not the magic of angsty and uncomfortable and unknown and, you know, romance that may or may not work if it had communication.
Perfect.
My dude.
Oh? Then how did you know who I was talking about?
Because I have 0 other men in my entire life.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right about that, huh?
And very few people overall.
You know what? I really don't know about who you talk to. Who the heck do you talk to anyway? What's your life like, hun?
Wait, you have no other people in your life? Okay. Spill. Who are your friends?
I need to know, sis. What's up?
I love that. I would love Regina actually asking about Lily's life when she's not there. Because if Regina's very social, she may assume that Lily has a bunch of connections, especially since they've talked very, very little. She may assume that she has extended family or friends or whatever out here because her great aunt and uncle lived out here.
Uh-huh.
Going, yeah, your aunt had a fuck ton of connections. You don't know any of them and none of them know you, or none of them live near here?
I was going to say logic dictates that there should be somebody.
Especially if her aunt was so prolific and living a triple life.
Yeah.
And everybody was so fond of her as well, it seems. There should be, and, you know, throwing parties. Mr. Jones remembers the parties. She knew people.
Mm-hmm.
And going, it would have been great to be like, have any of those people ever heard of or seen Lily? Because usually that happens.
Uh-huh.
You have, you know, your social connections and they know about your young relatives.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, here's my favorite young relative. Here's my niece, whatever. Even if they only knew you when you were like 3 to 9 or whatever, they could be like, Lily, you inherited, oh my God.
Aha!
Don't you remember me? Your unofficial wine aunt?
Anyway.
Oh, you got me, but he's just my, you know, MCM.
Mm-hmm.
In case anyone doesn't know, Man Crush Monday, which is a term I think is completely silly, but I feel like would fit in this game.
Yes, actually.
Anyway, he went to Nevada for a job interview for constructing a movie set.
I don't care about a job interview, dummy. I want to know about you two.
There is no us two. We're really, at this point, just friends, and I have a crush. Really what I have for him is a boner. A huge-ass boner. Oh my God, I want him to sweep me off my feet and throw me in a bed for about 16 hours. That would be amazing.
Yes!
Hi, Regina.
Whoa. I mean, I did ask, so.
Oh, well, I don't know. We were kind of getting somewhere, spending time alone together, which is the only way to build a relationship in fiction. And then my mom showed up.
Because, you know, isolationist fantasies. Again, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with being around other people. Like,
and there's nothing that prevents intimacy from happening in what is essentially a public setting. So, old style, let's go to like your whole Jane Austen books and movies, okay?
Yes.
There was a sort of, not courtly, but I'm going to say courtly manner at the time where you didn't leave people alone if they were of the opposite sex.
You had a guardian.
But they would nonetheless be alone all the time because the guardian was out of earshot, but plenty well within range for anything and always in eyeshot.
Yes.
So they had private conversations where they could be very intimate and very open, where they could get to know each other without other people overhearing and the social pressures of that. Additionally, you know, you could go to a corner in a ballroom that's quite loud or any kind of social gathering or party. You can have time alone without being alone and have plenty of, again, intimate or close bonding connections, as well as those times in public often show you who that person is when they're in the situations that you're going to be in for a lot of your life.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you were considered to be a part of the gentry or the higher classes, because that's usually where that stuff starts.
Because they're going to be around people all the time, and you want to enjoy who they are when they're in public.
Well, you know, you just got to make sure you're part of the right class, though, darling.
But I was about to die laughing when I threw that in, because sometimes I think I'm really funny, or I think my friend is really funny, and I
Yeah.
just wonder how many other people are laughing. And we're gonna put an announcement on our Tumblr soon that we've booked some library time, and we're gonna do some streaming soon.
Right.
And we're hoping that it will be at a time. It's on a Saturday.
It's
right?
on a Saturday.
On a Saturday when some people can show up, because we would love to freaking laugh along with you guys. It would be great.
It would be awesome.
I would say, but we will totally be performing and have a game and everything. It'll be awesome.
Yes.
Anyway, we were kind of getting somewhere, spending alone time together, and my mom showed up. We are something. I just don't know what yet. Are you friends, Lily? Friends?
Walls?
Walls? Yeah, there's a lot of walls between. Oh, right. Let's do it like this.
That was really
whoa.
abrupt.
Okay, that changes what kind of wood. Changes into like cane.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. And now we're into
Stucco!
or bricks.
Oh boy.
It's okay. I just tore out all the wood, and the stucco's kind of cute.
I mean, stucco is really useful, though honestly, it always will remind me. So there was a house that I lived in when I was younger with my parents.
Oh, God.
And what happened is my mom ended up replacing all the siding, right, with stucco on this house that we were in. And oh
I'm gonna go with
God,
bricks.
it was a
Let's do it.
little horrifying because immediately that fall, all the what they're called box elder bugs, so these little black and red bugs, all
Beetles.
swarmed the house. Like they were everywhere outside of the house. Because that house had been where they used to basically nest.
So the thing is with siding, if you have normal wood panel siding on a house, it's basically these strips of wood that lay slightly over each other, the way shingles do on a roof, but on the side of a house.
Right.
Big long strips. Okay, so if you're from another country or you just don't have those kind of houses there, and they breathe. So there's a little tiny space between one and laying over the other. You don't seal them with paint because they have to let moisture out of the house, kind of thing. Otherwise, you can get wall mold and rot and stuff like that. So the box elder bugs had been coming and just living in the off season in between these layers of siding, which normally you wouldn't notice because it doesn't get into your house at all. It's just between the siding and the interior wood paneling on the outside of the house. And then basically your board. What is that freaking stuff called? You got your insulation, and then you've got your. It's fine. It's fine.
I spent a lot of time breaking that stuff down, but I sure as fuck cannot tell you what it was.
So they all came back to go into their normal little spaces in between all the siding, and they weren't there. So they just covered the house, and my friend had nightmares.
It wasn't like I had nightmares. They were just really, it was a lot. When
Okay,
you'd be like, I woke up and then I look out my bedroom window and you're just like, there are bugs everywhere lining all.
So when we did this, we also repaired the sign and everything inside the workshop area.
Brilliant.
I'm like, I didn't realize we were going to repair all the stuff inside the workshop.
It's okay. The roof needs some work next. Boost me up?
You don't want a ladder?
No, boost me.
Always here to boost you, whatever your challenge is.
That's kind of cute, actually.
Replace workshop roof. How do we know it's a workshop? Other than, I guess that's kind of sort of what Holly called it?
I guess, but it's also the thing that we didn't really talk about. I thought that's what actually Lily brought up, that it was a workshop. I don't know, it's fine.
Yeah.
If I fall, make sure to catch me.
I will always catch you, sister. That's a lot of responsibility.
It's precisely one thing.
Okay, that's a big responsibility.
Thank you.
You're welcome. No, okay.
I love that she's wandering around on the grass.
She fell immediately. Did you see that?
Brilliant.
Just like that stepping off the edge where you just disappear.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, I can't decide. That's so cute. That's so cute.
Oh, God, that is going to rot your roof so hard.
No,
depending on how you do it.
I was going to say, if it's a true, integrated roof, okay, I want to do this and I'm going to change the walls green. So I haven't gone back and changed anything, but I'm going to go back and change the walls green because they will look stinking cute with that purple.
How does it look from down there?
Very purple.
Oh, my God.
Flowerific. A+. Okay, just so you know, I didn't know that planting a living roof was actually carpentry.
Whoa!
Also,
she just
get
slid
down.
Hey, when are you gonna learn to listen to your best pal?
I'm pretty sure I listen to you a lot. I just don't always do everything that you say. About what?
About Luke!
What have you been saying about Luke? Except for that he was kind of annoying and stinky?
Remember what I told you? Men are dense.
Yeah, stupid. That's what I remember. You told me he was stupid. So I'm supposed to listen to you and know he's stupid?
If you want to kiss him, kiss him. If you want him to be your boyfriend, ask him.
Okay, so second one, sure. First one, no. If he doesn't want a kiss, that is assault. Like, I appreciate that people go, oh no, they just leaned in and
So I was
kissed
about
you.
to say, shouldn't you strike that and reverse it?
That's what I said. Second one, okay. First one, not.
Oh, okay.
I'm
I'm fine.
I already reversed it, my friends. All right, anyway.
I have you now.
So, as far as it is legally defined, if you force yourself onto someone else, it is assault. Now, they may not press charges, they may not think it's a serious offense, but you should ask before touching people.
Yes.
Especially in a sexual context, which we consider kissing to be romantic/sexual. We don't consider there to be a lot of platonic kissing when it's, if you want to kiss him, kiss him. Very platonic. Platonic vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is if you're doing platonic touching, it should also be with consent. And I appreciate the whole, the intensity of it. But he needs to be involved.
Yeah.
I don't care if you think he's dense. You still need his consent. And that is an opinion that I am immovable on. I don't care who I'm trying to date. Consent is very freaking important for me. On my side and on their side and without coercion.
And that's the other thing, though, that's also really interesting. So what we're talking about, obviously, is a real-life scenario, and this is clearly a fictional setting.
Yes.
Now, I always think these are really interesting because in a fictional setting, you usually have that, basically, assumptiveness of going, you've consented to read a romance book. You've consented to read a chick lit story. You've consented to read a story about what everybody keeps going, oh, this is the story of Luke and Lily getting together. So everybody assumes, basically, that it's all okay in the end because you already know that they're going to end up together, and that's where it should go.
Because the author has basically consented them to get together because that's the arc they're writing.
Right, and that's also, though, a thing that actually, weirdly enough, readers tend to consent to when you pick up the book. Now, that doesn't mean you can't put the book or whatever media you're reading or engaging with down, but it is a thing that happens, and that's one of those things where people go, oh my god, I can't believe this thing did this, and you go, that's cool. You didn't recognize it. If you don't like it and it makes you uncomfortable, you can walk away from it.
And again, fictionally, you can really do whatever you want. Fictionally, Regina could say, just fuck him if you want to fuck him.
Right?
And that could be fine. Now you have to rate your game, and she can only say it once if it's PG-13. But I was going to say, but that is a thing, and it doesn't matter. And consent fictionally is not necessary at all. But it's important to recognize real-life parallels.
I also, though, wonder at the same time, too, if that's why for a lot of people genres are really super important, where they go, the reason why you want to assume with some of these details is so you don't get caught up in things like that. You already go into it going, I know what's going to happen in a mystery novel, I know somebody's going to die. Right? Instead of, like, shocking people and going, it was a mystery horror, let's say. And you explain those things so people already know what they're consenting to, what your reader already knows they're consenting to, which would be really helpful, actually, if more people were more clear about that, but I don't know.
So if you pick up a book off the shelf in a thrift shop and it has no cover and you start reading it and it sounds a little bit like a romance mystery and it turns out to be a graphic horror halfway through, you go, whoa!
Yeah.
Personal experience, but only once. I would say, it could be one of those things where the genre is not always obvious if, one, you're not familiar with it, and two, it's not labeled.
Right, which is actually one of those reasons where they talk about that it's really good if you're going to do something like that. Number one, be aware that you might make mistakes, and also sometimes the author makes mistakes, and so does your editor and your publisher. And then be willing to put the damn thing down.
Yes.
You know, kind of thing.
Always protect yourself as you need to. All right, kiss him, ask him.
Ask it. You've got to make the moves or you'll be waiting forever.
I mean, if he's not interested, waiting forever, I mean, I don't want to be waiting forever. I could just be existing forever and not waiting.
Yeah, I don't have to wait.
I mean, I don't have to put the impetus of like movement on him where he has to make the first move, but I will say that if he's not interested, he doesn't have to, this doesn't have to happen.
It's fine.
I have to do everything around here. That is not true. You have had a ton of support.
You really have. Everything that isn't carpentry.
Nice burn. Good job. I have to do everything that isn't carpentry around here. That's
I'm also
adorable.
Like, what I'm actually seeing, though, is this now is basically Lily's going, what I'm having is that I want to have the magical Disney princess, basically, thing where the guy just shows up and he just kisses me, kind
and
of
sweeps
thing.
me off my feet and tells me how much he wants me and that he loves me and that I get to swoon in his arms, but not a true swoon.
But also, it's interesting because I'm not really, like, I get that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to shame anybody for having that sort of experience, but it's also one of those things, too, of just to kind of start to engage with, too, of being like, why do you want this? What is this about? Especially if you have any expectations from other people. Yep. Like, you gotta involve other people.
It is. And it can be really, really valuable to think about why you want the fantasies that you do. And if they're much like Regina just explained, going, I just assume this is what you do, and, you talk yourself into it because that's what you do. In the same way that I was like, I will grow up and, get married to a man and have kids because that is the only thing you do. I didn't even understand that other orientations beyond heterosexual existed, not like really existed, until I was solidly an adult.
That thing where you go, yeah, no, I get that this thing exists, but that's like over there.
It was conceptual, like Africa exists. Sure, on the maps in your school books.
Right?
And like, there's a difference between a mature understanding of lesbians and gays and all your queer folk in the entire umbrella and rainbow exist, and you may be one of those people.
Right?
And there's a very, very big difference and divide between those two things.
Right?
Chasms.
Especially where people are like, well, if you just weren't exposed to it, you would have never chosen to do that. And you're like, oh my God, go fuck yourself.
You know what? There have been people forever that have had, okay, so one of the things in my human sexuality class, we're going to go a tiny bit long here, okay, because this is very important.
This never happens.
Okay, so in my human sexuality class, in psych, when I was in college, just, at that time, all right? So there were a ton of stories about people, men and women, because those were the only, genders that were identified at the time in the research books, that were frustrated and disenfranchised and disconnected their entire lives, trying really, really hard to live heteronormative lives and just feeling completely displaced. They didn't feel gay. They didn't feel, not their gender or anything. They just felt like something was wrong and they had no label for it at all. And there were so many heartwarming stories of once they were exposed to LGBT plus information, queer information, they were able to self-examine this deep feeling of displacement that they had their entire life and then figure out what it was / where it fit. And there was a couple of incredibly warm stories about people going, I'm trans, I didn't know that existed. I've never felt like a woman or a man my entire life, and this other thing. And they're in their 50s or in their 60s. And it's not like they did it because someone told them it was somewhat, they would have never thought of that. It's like, yeah, they would never have thought of that. But they were deeply unhappy without that knowledge that there were other options.
I'm trying to remember, so there was a story I remember somebody on Tumblr talking about where they were like, I was watching a documentary, a sex documentary with, I think either their grandma or their mom.
Okay.
And they were like, oh my God, because it had just turned over in the documentary about asexuals.
Right.
And it was just had this huge reaction going, oh my God, that's me. And I had no idea, I always thought there was something wrong with me kind of thing, and being like, they're like, this is a person who's in their 50s, 60s, whatever it was, and they were just kind of teary-eyed going, this is amazing. It's really important.
So the information doesn't give you the idea. What it does is it gives you a place to put the experience you're already having.
Right.
For the most part. Now it's possible that it can give you an idea and you can go and explore that idea, just like
but
someone
that should
can
be
go,
okay.
Yeah, just that can be fine. Just like someone can go, velvet exists, and you go, I want to put it on my body now.
Right.
I would have never thought of that if you hadn't told me, but I have now thought of it and I want to try. And you know what? That's also fine. There was this wonderful story about this older woman who she'd outlived 2 husbands, and she had her house and her retirement from their their military pensions, because that was the time of the America that it was, and she'd had this best friend that she'd had since high school. So 55 years at this point, right? And finally she heard about that women can be attracted to women sexually. And she thought about it for a long time, for about a month. She really thought about it. And then she went to her friend and she's like, I think I might be a lesbian. And her friend got very, very, very quiet. She said, and I think I might be really attracted to you. And her friend broke down in tears and says, I've been in love with you since high school.
Oh,
and it was super cute. And then they just got together and they spent their golden years together and they were very happy. And neither of them felt displaced. And it was also a cool story because to me, her friend wasn't having unrequited entitlement at all that's in so many of those stories.
Oh, God, yeah.
She was just her great friend for years and years and years. And then her friend shows up and goes, I love you. And she's like, oh my God, me too. And it was really cute. But the thing is people need knowledge to figure out things. Sometimes there's just a sense of displacement. Sometimes I think every like isekai story, every story of I don't belong here, every story of this can't be my real family, this can't be my real life, and then the author takes them off and tells them they are the chosen one, is a trans narrative, because inside them they felt something was deeply wrong and they needed new information to go explore that idea that they were someone else. So take that and stick it in your, hot take pipe. All right. I have to do everything that isn't carpentry around here.
All right.
All of it.
Well, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for joining us. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also share our videos if you're having a good time with us. Please also feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or our Patreon. We got some links in the description down below. And I have been Scandal.
And I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you.
Bye.